Is the reversal in the markets real? Are we going to revisit all-time highs? And why is Bitcoin so boring on the other hand in crypto industry? Also, is Fed bearish enough? What happened after the Jackson Hole Symposium? Well, let's discuss all of this in this weekly analysis. Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Dan, and as always, I'm bringing you analysis for this week for stock market, crypto market, everything combined, some news. We're gonna recap a lot of things, so stay tuned. But let's not waste any minutes, so head to the charts, and we're gonna start as always with Nasdaq 100. So, as I already told you, for the guys who are following me, please, for the guys who are not following me, go back and watch the previous video because it's a continuation of the previous video. I'm just building up my thoughts. So you need to know what was my thought process coming to this week. This week we had this big green candle, okay, to the upside for Nasdaq 100, and we ended up in green, right? Which is a good thing, which is a sign of strength. And I already told you that we bounced off of the EMA 20, which further confirms our bullish momentum or bullish market. And now we're just continuing to the upside. So will the momentum continue this week? We're gonna know. We're gonna know this week. We're gonna see what's going to happen. There's not much news and much catalyst happening, so I don't think this week is going to be some huge big week, especially that we have a holiday on Monday in the US markets. So the US market will not be working, okay, on holidays. So I'm not sure if we're going to have the strength to push and break these previous highs that were at around 16,050, or at least to catch up to 15,915. Anyways, the indicators are not telling us much as of yet. If we break this previous top, which is at around 16,050, if we break it and the indicators still continue lagging, then we're going to have a bearish divergence on a weekly chart. Nothing happened yet, I'm just saying possible scenarios. Now, let's move on to the daily chart. So on the daily chart, I believe there's absolutely nothing happening. Yeah, it's absolutely the same. We're still above the EMAs, so we're bullish. Now let's go on 4-hour chart, and on 4-hour chart is I'm going to do something, which is I'm going to boom, add some colors to it, right? Add some colors, some names, right? It looks nice, it looks better. It looks actually like flag of Thailand, I think. When I gave it a second view, it actually does look like Thai flag. Let me know if you agree with me. Anyways, okay, yeah, these are just some of my markings, some of my new markings, because I decided to make it a little bit more nicer for my own eyes to see, right, while I'm trading. Because when you just have pure lines and colored blocks, it's just, you don't know what is what. Anyways, let's get to the point. You see how we exactly bounced off of the EMA 20 on the 4-hour chart, and also over here we have this order block that I marked. So it combined together with this previous support area right over here. So at the moment we look bullish, we look okay for continuation of the trend. Now, as always, I'm gonna give you two scenarios. So of course the bullish scenario would be something like breaking the previous high, coming back to retest it to this supply and demand zone, and then just continue all the way to this gap. Now this gap right over here can be easily filled, all right, if we continue with the momentum this week or next week, okay? So this is, and let's just mark it in blue colors. So this is the bullish scenario. So in a bullish scenario, I want to see continuation of the move to the upside, breaking this previous highs, which was at around 15,660, and upon retest, I would take long somewhere in this supply and demand zone between 15,600 and 15,650. So somewhere, basically, when it comes to retest and when it starts bouncing back up, that's when I would be taking my long position. Now, of course, on the flip side, if we just continue going lower and then break these previous lows, go back to the order block and come back, let's say somewhere over here, bounce back, and then continue all the way to the downside just to get to this pivot level right over here. So for the bearish scenario, if we go down, we break EMA 20, okay, on the 4-hour chart, and also we go back into this order block right over here, we might actually continue going long from here. So there is a long. If we do something like this and then continue going back long, this is also a possibility. So this is going to be like a third option, right? But if we go break it to the downside, retest these previous support levels, which are going to turn into a resistance. So break it, test it, not able to come back instantly, and then just continue going lower. So if we do that, then the possibility is that we're going to end up at 15,170. Okay, so I would be taking long on a retest of this previous support level, which would be short position, which would be at around 15,440, something like that, 450. And of course, as I said, the third option is we go back, grab some liquidity, we actually end up going lower. Let's say we might even do something like this, just to grab some liquidity, clear all the stop losses right over here in this area, and then go long. So you could also go long from the 15,345 area. However, all of this is, guys, I can give you these scenarios, right? And I can talk for days. It's probably a little bit complicated for you new guys, right? What I'm saying, but I cannot put it any simpler, just because even me myself, I have no idea where the price action is gonna go. So I make a plan of what I want to see in the markets. Okay, so this is a plan, it's a trading plan. I want to see these moves around these pivot points, okay, that I marked right over here with these arrows, is where I'm going to be looking at the price action, what it does. I usually zoom it in on the 5 minute, 15 minutes, and I look what the price action does in that section, okay? And if it does what I want to see, if I see some engulfing candles, if I see some clear signs of reversal, that's what I follow the scenarios. So let's just quickly go over it. If, for example, we break this previous high, come back over here, I zoom in on the 5 minute chart and I see that we're clearly looking for another bottom and we're creating another impulse to the upside, I will be long. If we go to the downside, okay, start going back up, but I see in this area right over here at around 15,450, if I see we're creating a structure that we're gonna reverse and continue going to the downside, that's where I'm gonna go short. And finally, for the third scenario, if we break all these levels over here, grab some liquidity, and if I see a big candles forming ready to pump back up, I'm going to be going long. So you have to use both time frames, higher time frame for the bigger narrative, and then you have to use the lower time frame for the confirmation of your own entry. Okay, so this is my plan for this week, these three scenarios. Okay, now let's move on to Bitcoin. Okay, what is Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin is doing absolutely nothing, as always. Bitcoin has been very boring these weeks, and except this one big week where we had big short. Other than that, nothing is happening. The indicators are telling us, actually we do have something on the indicators. We do have a slight hidden bullish divergence. Basically, it's a bullish sign. It's a sign of accumulation right over here in this area. So both MACD and RSI are giving us hidden bullish divergence. However, if we break these levels, it's not going to be hidden bullish divergence no more. It is going to be convergence. By the way, if you're not familiar with these terms, again, a lesson, go back to my previous videos. I have compiled a list of ultimate beginner's guide to help you understand everything that I'm talking about, okay? So go back to my previous videos, have a list. I have a playlist called Ultimate Beginner's Guide, which is going to explain all of the tactics that I'm using, okay? It's going to be way more clear. Now, let's go on the one-day chart. On the one-day chart, as I've already told you, and let me show you the drawings, because ta-da! So on the 1 hour chart, as I already mentioned last time, we do have, we're still holding the 25k support. My logic still stays the same. As long as we're above 25k, we're bullish. When we drop below 25k, I'm going to become bearish. As simple as that. So this still right over here is okay time to buy. All right, and we also have, as I already told you, on a weekly, we also have on a daily a hidden bullish divergence at the moment. Let me just mark it so you actually see it. So we do have, so this area right over here is a good time to accumulate. Now, of course, for Bitcoin, as always, if we have a scenario of breaking to the downside, retested. I definitely think we're going back to 20k. And if we have a scenario just to go back up, I want to see something like this, like a huge big impulse. I'm gonna talk about some good news that we had for Bitcoin, which didn't affect the price. It did a little bit over here, but then we dumped really quickly. And that's why I want to just tell you that for Bitcoin, we need something really, 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 really good or something bad to finally break out of this area, okay? This to me starts to look like a squeezing model, the squeezing triangle, something like this, like this, like this, and then finally bloop, just break it to the downside. Oh, this looks very ugly to be honest. But anyways, it is supposed to be a squeezing triangle, something like this. Let me just draw it really nicely, like this, and then finally to break it to the downside. All right. So yeah, that will be all for Bitcoin. Now let's move on to some economic calendar as always. So Monday, United States Labor Day holiday. The stocks are not going to be able to be traded. Stock market is going to be closed. Futures are going to be open in a certain, I think, hours. So it's going to be reduced hours. So you still will be able to trade Nasdaq. However, I don't trade on these kind of days, holidays. Its volatility is zero, is dead. Okay. So on Tuesday, nothing much. We have factory orders, which is the biggest report. So Tuesday is most probably going to be a little bit of a pump or excitement day or a recovery day after holiday, you know. So I do expect on Nasdaq to continue a little bit of a pump on Tuesday. Now Wednesday, we do have S&P Global Services PMI, and we do have ISM non-manufacturing PMI. Okay, we have also Beige Book, export, import, and then trade balances. On Thursday, we do have initial jobless claims as usual. We have crude oil inventories as usual, and then there are some job reports as well, which are not really important. And then on Friday, we have Fed's balance sheet and some FOMC members speak. So basically, this week is not filled with reports. This week is not going to have any earnings reports. It's not going to have any impactful economic reports, so it's just going to be continuation of the momentum, and we're gonna find out what the momentum is. Okay, is the momentum continuation to the upside, or the momentum is just going to the downside? Now let's go over some news. Top 5 things to watch in the markets in the week ahead. US economic data, as I've already said, Fed speak. Friday jobs report was the latest in series of economic data, indicating the economy is heading for a so-called soft landing. Oh yes, by the way, we did have jobs data previous week, as I said, and it was kind of good. So they actually estimate that the recession is not going to be that bad, and that we're going to have a soft landing. Stocks kick off September. Now September, the data makes the case for the Fed becoming more dovish as we head into the fall. In the end of the tightening comes sooner than later. That could lead to a substantial rally in stocks. Okay, this is from Kate Buchanan, a portfolio manager at Global T Investments in Atlanta. He has kind of a point, because you know we're coming to the end of the year. Everybody's projecting recession. Is not still happening. Fed is not bearish enough, and they will have to pivot soon. Okay. Now the only thing that worries me is that you're gonna feel the effects of extended rate hikes only a couple of quarters later, so maybe somewhere in 2024. But in 2024 we should be already well off in the bull market. So let's see how that's gonna work out. China data. China has some economic data upcoming in this week, likely to indicate that the economic recovery in the world's second largest economy remains fragile amid weak demand in key export markets and the deepening domestic property crisis, which has added to downwards pressure on growth. Evergrande basically is what they mean. Evergrande is the second biggest Chinese developer that defaulted or went bankrupt. Then oil surges on supply concerns. This is actually an important one because it concerns the inflation. Oil prices surged to their highest level in more than 7 months on Friday, snapping 2 weeks of losses amid concerns of the tightening supply outlook. Okay, we're not going to go into too much details. And then Reserve Bank of Australia decision, which we don't care about. I'm sorry, Australia, you're beautiful people, I love you, but this is not really relevant. Now let's move on to some crypto news, okay? Top stories for this week. Grayscale wins SEC lawsuit for Bitcoin. And let me just go back to the chart real quick. This is where we had this big bump from what was it, 26,000 to 28,000, right? When the Grayscale won the SEC lawsuit. But however, manipulation at its finest didn't last for a day. Tomorrow already, boom, it flopped back. BitBoy, crypto brand, will no longer include YouTuber Ben Armstrong. Man, he's obviously on some kind of drugs, this guy, Ben Armstrong. Like, you see his behaviors, his stories, his posts on Twitter or X now. You can see that he's on some kind of drugs. Going to Dubai, showing off, but then threatening people. And I don't understand this guy. Like, then he's clearly having some bipolar issues. I wish him well. I wish him all the best. And actually, his company confirmed alleged issues of substance abuse and financial damage as reasons behind the decision. Like, everything that he's been doing lately was just a controversy. He's been just so controversial, but it's very sad because a couple of years back he was actually a cool guy. You could hear some smart things from him until he boarded this hype train where he wanted to be famous, where he wanted to be, you know, having a beef with everyone. He's like, you know, now a typical YouTuber, so I don't like that part. Anyways, let's go to the next one. SEC delays decision on 6 spot Bitcoin ETF applications. As usual, they just kick the can further down the road. However, it is going to happen eventually. Now, Bitwise withdraws Bitcoin and Ether market cap ETF application. Robinhood bought back Sam Bankman-Fried's stake from US government for 606 million. As you all know, that Sam Bankman-Fried had his personal investment in Robinhood, and then now they bought it back. What I was about to say is why we could see a break to the downside when it comes for Bitcoin, when it comes to the fundamentals. As I already told you, do not forget US government owning a Bitcoin from the Silk Road, okay, and Mt. Gox repayment, which is coming now in September. These are the possible catalysts to further sell off. And as I've said many times, don't be surprised, because Matrix works coordinated. Don't be surprised if both of them come together as one news, okay? So be safe. When I say buy Bitcoin or whatever, that's not a financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is all just for educational purposes. You do with your money whatever you want. I'm doing it with my money what I want. I'm just trading futures, okay, on Bitcoin. And when I say, I don't mean invest at $100 million. What I mean is you have to have a calculated risk. As everything in trading, you have to have your stop loss and take profit predetermined when you're entering the trade. So basically, be safe is the final bottom line. Be safe if you're buying, if you're selling, any side of the liquidity you are, just be safe. Have calculated risks and don't go more than you can afford to go, because just because somebody said it on YouTube, or you saw it, or you think because of some personal convictions or reasons or whatever. Go with the trend, wait and listen for the news, pay attention to the big macroeconomic happenings, and this is the only way where you can succeed in this in the long term. I thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next week.